video I was playing while we were waiting, so I'll let it play again. But it's just got musical background and it shows some of the crop circles. More interesting.
Hi, my name is Janet Osbart. I've been a crop circle researcher for 22 years.
Yeah, I know. It's doing these loops. It's trying to make a circle.
We can let those play in the background,
Yeah, exactly.
And ask questions and talk about things. That last film was done in Netherlands, and I think there was an article. They may be the same person who's also in the Netherlands. But this one witnessed a beam of light. And in the videos we saw there were little globes flying around. And sometimes people have seen a pillar of light over a crop circle. There's a pillar of light and there's a crop circle there afterward. This is a picture of one that she took. Bill will pass this around. And Shirley can pass it around. We'll just get it going. I think we've all seen the little round quintuplets with the circles, the little one in the middle with 4 babies around. But the complexity of so many of these just boggles my mind. And the precision, the mathematical precision that they talk about. There's a whole lot. This is the best book I've found on it, called Secrets in the Fields. It's written by Freddie Silva, who did a lot of the crop circle research, and he didn't start out to be a researcher, but he got intrigued, and one thing led to another. He ended up spending years looking into things. But he wrote this book. He talks about the musical tones, the angles in some of the formations, the degrees of the angles match the degrees of sound from, say, in the sound scale on the piano from C to D. It's a certain measurement of sound increase. There's a number for it. The crop circle angles have those same kind of numbers and those same kind of relationships. I mean, it's pretty mathematical, obviously. There's a lot of political interest in crop circles in England back in the 80s, and a lot of the researchers were watched by MI16 or whoever the MI6, the CIA of England. They were driven away by military planes. They were intercepted, threatened sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of secret stuff about it that nobody quite understands. And there was a lot of government effort to promote hoaxing, kind of as a diversionary tactic, if they didn't want anybody out there. The circles that were made before 1978, the hoaxers had no idea about that. There were 298 before 1980. There was one as far back as 1590. The hoaxers, well, we didn't know about those.
How far back?
1590.
What's the documentation for that?
I don't know, he just quoted that they've been noticed throughout history, but one as far back as 1590.
What would they have made them in? They didn't have big fields in 1590. They
You
had
know
little
what,
bitty fields.
John, I don't know. But somebody spotted it and noted it somewhere in the, I didn't write that down.
It's wild grass. It's just.
And he's talking about evidence, remarks over centuries of people who've seen stuff. I'm not a historian. If you're a historian, you go look it up.
Yeah, actually, I would like to address a part of
Tim
that.
was talking about it.
Some of the records from the 14th, 15th, 16th century are church records, church fields, and they thought at the time that it was perhaps demons and devils out making these sorts of circular patterns. In some of the Celtic areas, they thought there were fairies making these patterns.
I go with fairies myself.
But yeah, if you search like the devil's side, the devil's pattern, then you can get some documentation on crop circles before about the 1700s or so.
One question that popped into my head very early on. These fields all belong to somebody.
Yeah.
People who make money off of farming the crops off of them. They, nowhere in there did anyone talk about ever talking to the people who own the
Okay,
land.
there's stuff about that in this book. The farmers are as puzzled as anybody else, but the plants rise back up in a couple of days. Or they continue, even if they're laying down, they still harvest the crop is not damaged. But what the farmers are ticked off about is all the sightseers that are coming, tromping around.
Oh, yeah, they don't like that.
They're going furious about it, and they're saying, get the hell off of my property. And they're starting to charge fees for people to come on and make money off of them.
It's a lot of farms and a lot of farmers, someplace along in there, you'd think that they would have seen something too. But I didn't see anything about farmers being talked to.
Sometimes the farmers sometimes see them too, but this was just looking at their research that they did. But he quotes farmers, he said, we don't know how this got here, but farmers don't mind the circles themselves because they don't damage the crop, which is fascinating. And another thing they noticed, birds usually go where there's a lot of seeds laying around. In the crop circles, the energy is such birds don't go in there. The hoaxed ones knock around all the seeds and they're filled with birds working on the seeds after. The original, real, authentic crop circles, birds stay away from them, which is another observation. Circles have been made in snow, ice, snow in Afghanistan, ice in Russia, US and Canada, encrusted sand in Egypt, dry lake beds in Oregon, pictograms with over 1,000 elements to within surgical precision. And we're talking about several acres, several 100,000, maybe not 100,000, thousands of acres. They're really big, some of them, hundreds of acres. Mathematical precision, surgical precision, he said. 150,000 square feet. With unerring accuracy, and some of the curtains of wheat have a row of one stalk in part of the pattern. They can separate it, they can divide it by one row, one plant. Surgical precision. The fake circles, no, I said that about the birds coming in the fake circles. And this is an interesting aside. There's one of the researchers is named Colin Andrews. He lives in Connecticut, and he had a Aztec, I'm trying to think, one of the South American Indian shamans visiting him in Connecticut. And the shaman had a premonition. He had a meditation where he saw last ceremonial dance was an Indian pattern that he had in his dream. He got up in the morning and there was a fax on Colin Andrews' machine that a crop circle in that pattern had showed up that night. The farmer saw at daybreak and saw luminous spheres, and we saw some of those in that first video, luminous spheres gliding along the spine of the pattern. Some seeds from this field were used in a homeopathic. Somebody thought, oh, this must be energetic and can be used for healing, and they didn't find any particularly helpful homeopathic benefits from the seeds. One guy had a homeopathic application and got a rash in the same pattern as the crop circle the seeds had come from. Everybody knows how that happened.
the Netherlands and England are where we saw the beast from. Two of the most densely populated countries in the world there. How many people have actually seen the lights?
A lot of people have.
How many? Where did they
I don't know if they went out and counted the people that were
I'm
living.
trying to keep in between anecdotal and documented here.
Well, they didn't count how many people, because we're talking about Netherlands and England and places, a lot of places, over a period of 30 years. And so a lot of people have seen them. I mean, nobody's seen anybody go out in exactly, what they have seen is those little globes fly down the field, and then
In the 1500s, the early sightings, they didn't have a whole lot of lights up in the country then, and again, there were people there, and the church say anything about lights out there in the
I
country?
know about that, they didn't tell us about.
They didn't?
Well, Timothy's an expert on 1590.
1591. Oh, I have a light, glowing light, and this is a personal anecdote that I love because it's me. That's why it's personal. Years ago, my wife and I were camping out at Meridian State Park in Bosque County. It's a beautiful park. I recommend it to you if you want a quiet place to go camping. And we were in a screened shelter, and it's not way out in the country. You know, it's a couple of miles out of town there. And I was out by the lake in the early evening, just taking a stroll, and I looked into the southern sky, and there were these sudden orange flares appearing in the sky at a great distance, and slowly drifting across the sky, and then another one would pop up and drift across the sky. I got very excited about
4th of
this.
July?
Hmm?
Was it the 4th of July?
No, it was not. Definitely not. And this was a long way off, and they were drifting very slowly. And I actually went running up to another screened shelter trying to get someone to come out and look at them, but they were too busy watching their television set. So the catchphrase for this anecdote is, oh Clara, because as I was telling to my wife this, and she came out and she saw it and watched them drifting across the sky. There were as many as 7 of them drifting across the sky at a great distance. And the next morning, I went and I talked to the park ranger and told him what we'd seen, because I was really curious as to what it might have been. Because it just off the top of my very, very rational head, I was seeing UFOs down there. By definition, they were unidentified flying objects, definitely. And he said, well, you know, Fort Hood is just 50 miles south of here, and they were having maneuvers last night.
That's what they always say.
And they were dropping flares so they could see what they were doing.
And that's not an uncommon thing, but sometimes there are things that the military didn't do, but they say they did.
Yes, that's true.
So,
I don't think Clara believed him.
but they are identified vibrations and magnetic effects and magnetic changes in the plants and the liquid and the stems popping out and exploding and things like that.
The reason why I mention that is because what we saw here on the video looked exactly like what I saw down there, except ours were orange and these were white. They popped up the same way, they drifted the same rate and the same angle of descent, and it looked like flares to me.
And it might have been flares and it might not.
And you know, I don't know where that picture was taken, but the area around Stonehenge is in fact an area where there are a lot of military maneuvers
Okay,
done.
Don, the thing they were talking about by Stonehenge came in the daytime. Nobody saw any flares. Nobody saw anything in the damn.
But I don't know where those lights were. Is what I'm saying. She didn't say where they were, did she?
The one in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning. Showed her.
I'm not sure where that was, but there have been a lot of sightings of those little things. I don't know. Some of you are not as old as I am, but I can remember hearing about something in World War II called Foo Fighters. I didn't know what it was, but I read in another book I brought. If anybody wants to read around, a book on the Nazi scientific stuff going on in the World War II era. And one thing that happened, American pilots in World War II would be flying their planes along, and little glowing things like that would fly by, and they couldn't identify them. They knew they were probably a German thing, and they don't know what they were. They called them Foo Fighters. But those little things look like these things that are making the crop circles. And some of the people who are looking at this think that Germans had some kind of extraterrestrial input on some of their scientific innovations. And again, that's not verifiable, but it's suggestive of some of the stuff that came out of it. All right, so I'll tell you something else interesting. The electromagnetic wave processes can cause both interference and heating. We saw that when those things were boiled over. Andrews, that's Colin Andrews, and another guy named Delgado were measuring a pair of circles at Bratton in 1987. They noticed the needle of their compass spinning anti-clockwise. Since the compass lay untouched on the ground at the center of the circle, they couldn't account for this erratic behavior. They were walking around or turning around or rolling upside down, just laying on the ground going back